Hello, this is Stephanie Simpson with the Bleeding Disorder Foundation of Washington, and I just wanted to take a moment to share some tips and tricks for when you're meeting with your elected official. Whether you're joining us on lobby day or you're going to go and try to meet with your elected on your own during session, or you just happen to run into them at the grocery store, here's just some tips to make sure that you have a productive meeting with them. And always remember to reach out to the BDFW if you have any questions or if there's any additional information we can provide you. So one of the things I have always done when I meet with elected officials is to make sure I really prepare. So before you go into the meeting, take some time to read up about the elected official that you're meeting with. Read their bio. This is all online at ledge.wa.gov. You can go in and you can type your address and it'll show your elected official and you can read about them. You can even go into Google and their campaign website. And what this allows you to do is find out, oh, wow, we both have 3 kids, or you went to the UW, so did I. Or also things not to talk about. Oh, you're a Cougar and I'm a Husky? Okay, well then maybe we shouldn't talk about football. It allows us to kind of find a way to attach to the individual and then to provide context when we meet with them for them to attach to us. And to know kind of what their interests are. So if they are on the transportation committee and you are talking to them about healthcare, really being kind to them about the fact that this isn't something that they speak of every day, that their interests may lie in a slightly different arena. But being able to ask them about what they're working on, just finding the way for 2 humans to connect, because that's ultimately who these folks are. These are people that live in your area, in your community, and they just want to find a way to connect with you as a member of that community. So once you've prepared for your meeting, you also want to prepare about knowing what you're asking for. So you want to review the bills that the BDFW is talking about, and you want to make sure that you kind of understand where your story sits today. And then you want to know where you're going. So make sure you look to see where the meeting is located so that you can provide enough time to get to the meeting. Then you want to arrive to your meeting at least 5 minutes early. You're going to go to the front desk of the elected or into their office, depending on the size of the office. Everyone has different sizes. And say that, I would say, my name is Stephanie Simpson. I'm here to meet with Representative Cody on behalf of the Bleeding Disorder Foundation. Then they'll look and they'll check you in. They might tell you if the person is running behind or where to wait, and just be courteous and kind. And if you're there 20 or 30 minutes early, you can always let them know that you're there. And if they become available earlier or they're running late, no biggie. You're just here and excited to meet with them. And then when you go and you meet with the elected, I often will introduce myself again. Even if I know that I've run into them a lot, sometimes their days are so stressful that you want to be able to connect and kind of, give them a break for having to know your name. So I'll always be like, hey, it's Stephanie. It's so great to see you again with Bleeding Disorder Foundation, so that they can say like, oh, good. I'm so glad that she kind of told me she was. I knew she looked super familiar. But, it's hard. Do you recognize me from being at the grocery store, or do you recognize me because I've met with you a number of times? Again, this just goes back to folks being human and trying to give people a little bit of a help and break on all the things that they have in front of them. So when you go in, your meeting will be no more than 15 minutes. So by the time you say hello and you sit down, you're really looking more like at 10 or 12. So what you really want to be able to do is to, before you go in, really know how you're going to start your story, how you're going to share while you're there, and how you're going to conclude it. And, I think our stories can change over the years. So though maybe your story was the same for years and years, your story today may look and feel different than it did beforehand. And a couple of examples of this is that maybe before you were a symptomatic carrier or mild, and you were more there as a sibling, but now maybe you're there as either a to-be mom of a child who may or may not have hemophilia. Maybe your child has a different treatment regimen, and so how you normally spoke about your child and how you cared for them day to day may have changed. Or maybe your children are leaving the nest, and so how you interact with them and how you provide for them may be different. Or maybe you're a young person who's never come before, and how you want to present yourself. So really taking some time to think about that and trying to be able to do it in a very concise way. You'll often hear patients go in and spend the whole time talking about that horrible moment when their child was diagnosed, and rightfully so. But then we don't allow the individual to learn more either about the condition or about yourself or about the issues that are really of concern to you. So sometimes we have to push through almost as if you were speaking to somebody that's not about yourself. I always like to say it's so much easier for me to speak about all these great kids I get to advocate for than it is for me to advocate for my own children, because I can't hesitate but add in all those little details about them. So really thinking about that, and what is it, like your elevator speech, what are you going to say in 30 seconds if you really had to condense your time? And then really know how you're going to transition. So if you're going to say, my name is Stephanie Simpson, and I'm with the Bleeding Disorder Foundation, talking about this, and I'm here on today because I have a child with hemophilia. Hemophilia is the inability to properly clot. My child cares for themselves with this treatment by whether it's infusing, whether it's a sub-Q treatment, whether it's stymate, kind of explain how they are cared for. What are the burdens to your family? What are the challenges to your family and to your child? And for many of us, especially when we speak to electeds, one of our issues is always that fear of access to care, that my child or that myself or the community that I am here representing today won't have access to the medicine. And so that's why we're really working on these pieces of legislation. We understand that hemophilia is expensive, but we know a lot of conditions today are expensive. And so if we can make plans work for these individuals with bleeding disorders and rare conditions that have expensive treatments, then it's going to work a lot better for a lot of other patients. And then to go into what the ask is, that's why we are working on these 3 key pieces of legislation. We're trying to create that our health plans will be, and our healthcare access will be strong today and tomorrow. I think a really fun thing to talk about is the emerging therapies or gene therapy, and whether or not you have any interest in using any of these treatments. What I think is exciting is the hope. Just the hope that these things may be on the horizon, that hemophilia gets to be a part of this new generation of healthcare, and to really lead the way is a really, really kind of intriguing and engaging way. And even saying like, hey, would you like to be continually updated on how patients are thinking about gene therapy or how patients are thinking about emerging therapies? What is your thought? Is this of interest? I think sometimes people just really enjoy the intrigue of how it all works. And then, I like to end with the thank you for taking the time to speak with me. And then a few tips and tricks for difficult questions. So sometimes somebody may ask, how do you pay for all that out-of-pocket cost every year? And I'm aware that the patients do get assistance from the manufacturers, but I think that the line that we like to use is that you will get the help wherever that you can to provide for your family. We don't want to say where that help comes from because it kind of clouds the discussion a little bit and leads to more questions. So I have found that, patients get the help wherever they can find it. Is a really great way to answer, and it really never leads to additional questions. The other question that you can get from time to time that's difficult to answer is, why is the medicine so expensive? And I think the easiest answer for that is that whether it's $1 or $1 million, the patients need access to it. But if you're interested in any of the pharmaceutical costs, the foundation would be happy to connect you or help you find the insurance company or the drug company lobbyist. And just those are a couple of ones that can pop up from here, once in a while with different folks. And so those are just some really great strategic answers that I have found along the way that usually help both of us end the conversation in a respectful manner. And then, of course, if people have questions and you don't know the answers, you can always just say, could the foundation follow up with you? We would love to connect and see if we can't get some answers for that.